Today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the tips, tricks, and techniques that I use in order to level up my overall filmmaking, cinematography, lighting, etc. And the first thing that I did when I was kind of starting out a few years ago was bring a camera everywhere. I don't care where I was at, I always had some sort of camera, even if I just had my cell phone. If I had this 77D with me and I was just out filming my family, essentially whatever opportunity I could find in order to film and put together a short project or a short video, I would do it. Today, we're going to be talking about how to shoot better content. Turn on this AC. The AC is a little loud, isn't it? Better videos, just as a whole. Over the past couple years, I've been able to shoot a couple hundred music videos, and so I would say I'm pretty much, if you take your average video shooter, I'm probably 2 times better than your average video shooter, which actually isn't that good. I picked up a few things along the way that I want to share with you guys here in this video. I think I'm going to talk about exposure, how I set my color and white balance. I'm going to talk about what I'm using to get my audio, and then I'm going to talk about composing shots and how to make your shots look just a little bit better than the person next to you. Okay, so here we go. Right off the bat here, we can see that my face is a little bit overexposed. So what we can do is turn it down a little bit. This is an ND filter. This is the advantages of having ND filters, and when the clouds come out, then you probably have to turn it back up. ND filters are cool if you plan on shooting professional or semi-professional video, or if you plan on charging anyone for music videos or weddings or whatever, and you don't have an ND filter, you're fucking up. As you can see, I'm a little dark right now, and that's because I actually chose to expose for the background, because if I didn't, this is what you would get. Now this is me exposing the image to my face, and as you can see, you can't even tell where I'm at right now. So to me, just in my opinion, it's always a better idea to just go ahead and get the surroundings so that people can tell exactly where you're at, and then just kind of bring up the shadows a little bit in post. Also too, if I'm exposing for the lightest parts in the image, I don't have to ever worry about blowing anything out in any one of my clips. I can just simply bring up the shadows in post. So like in this image right here, man, you got most of the background blown out, but since I'm in the foreground, and I want you guys to kind of focus on me more. Maybe if I had this framing, I would kind of switch it up a little bit. And maybe I can go with something like this. So you guys got a couple different options, man. It all depends on the scene. Every scene is different. Not every scene is exactly the same. Where'd you get that stick from? You guys can see how dark this shot is. You can't even see my face, but it's okay, because I chose to shoot it like this. I chose to expose for the window, and I can use this for, let's say, a B-roll shot. If I wanted to turn this into a talking head shot, I would just simply turn the ND filter, and now you can see my face. The background is a little blown out, but it brings a little bit more focus to the person talking. So it all depends on the content that you're shooting, what the purpose of the actual clip is for, and then making your decision based upon those factors. Let's talk about audio. I think the best way to get audio for me, just personally, is to use a wired lavalier mic and just connect it directly to the camera. Just so you don't have to worry about like batteries running out and just worry about like other signals interfering with your audio. But audio, super important, a great way to level up your videos. This particular mic as well also comes with a wind protector or a dead cat. And as you can see, it's pretty windy out here, and you shouldn't be able to hear any of the wind through this wind protector. Okay, so just to give you guys a little bit of comparison as to what this microphone sounds like when it's not plugged in. This microphone's not plugged in. I know you guys can't hear me, but I want you guys to hear what it sounds like when you don't use a microphone. This is what it sounds like just coming straight out the camera. And also you can tell that it's super windy out here. Let me plug this mic. Let me plug the mic back in. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I always take a gray card with me around everywhere I go. What this does basically is this allows me an opportunity to stick this in front of the camera whenever possible, like if I'm changing around to a different scene, and I can just quickly drag an eyedropper tool in post and be able to get a quick reference for white balance. I even do my professional shoots with this as well. It's technically not the correct answer or the correct way to get your white balance, but it's a very easy way and it's very quick. The technology is within your Final Cut, Premiere Pro, Davinci, Resolve. That technology has come a long way since, 10 years ago. So for me, This is like the best way to get white balance. Pretty much video that separates you from your competition, or video that separates you from just your average person posting daily on social, or just basically anyone else out there that's creating content. Well, you can say now, hey, why don't you just shoot auto white balance everywhere? That's cool and that'll work. The only difference between auto white balance and actually getting your white balance manually is that your entire project will be a lot more consistent in color. Because if you were to take this eyedropper and put it onto this gray card, and if I was to step outside, the entire color scheme would change on the entire clip. And so I would have to actually go in and actually manually color each and every clip, other than just color one whole clip and have the color be consistent throughout the entire clip. Hey, said you could come to the front. You ready? Yeah, this isn't chips here. Chips are over here. What kind of chips do you want? You want Cheetos? Okay, put it in the back, put it in the cart.
Wave. Look, why you mad? Get to the bag. Niggas long face, duck a case, get the cash. I've been living fast, still far from average.
What toy did you get?
I don't know what it's called.
Oh, let me see.
Yes, big head.
Look at that. Let's talk about composition real quick. Essentially, when shooting anything, it needs to be composed correctly. Take, for example, this tree. I can either choose to shoot this tree just straight on as I'm shooting it right here, standing up, or I can back up a little bit, go a little bit wider, and I could even put the corner of this here in the center as I back up. So this here, to me, it just in my opinion looks like a better composition. And like I said before, all I'm doing is twisting my ND filter in order to get a little bit more exposure. So once again, go a little bit more wide. And as I went a little bit more wide on that shot, it allowed more light back in, because this is not a constant aperture lens. So we got to lower the exposure down a little bit. We can also make the shot just a little bit more interesting by starting lower, and as we walk forward, we can push up into the tree just like that. Same thing here, guys. I can choose to shoot this Guam sign just straight on as we see it here, or I can choose to kind of come back a little bit, maybe even go wider on this shot as well, and we could come lower, maybe come to about here. This sign here is a little distracting. So what I'll do is I'll move up past it, and then I'll stick all my information right on the bottom thirds of the screen. We can also choose to come in just a little bit. This here is 18 mil. And then taking a look at this shot again, if we see this tree here, we kind of want to make sure that tree is all the way in the frame. So to me, with this entire tree in frame, looks a lot better than the shot that I was going for earlier.
Since day one, but I'm seasoned, but the working off season. Niggas talk like they ball hard.
Another thing I always like to do, and you'll see it in most of the projects I work on, is that I will always take a second shot of the same thing. So essentially I'm just coming in just a little bit closer, and as well the audience has a lot better context as to what it is they're looking at.
Switch up how I breathe.
Another thing that I'm constantly doing in this video is I'm switching off where I'm shooting at. If you guys noticed earlier, we were filming over by the Guam sign, and then we were kind of over there a little bit, and the Guam sign is over there. And so what I'm doing is I'm literally just switching out where I'm shooting, just to provide the entire project with a little bit of diversity. One last thing to note on that cinematic B-roll, or whatever you want to call it, inside the grocery store, you notice my shots were a little bit more purposefully driven, meaning they had a start point and it had an end point, which is really different when shooting a vlog, because when you're just shooting a vlog, I'm literally just shooting everything as it happens. I don't have really a starting point or an end point to any of my clips. But for example, if I was going to shoot this and this was going to be like a cinematic, if I knew that I was going to use this for a cinematic, I would literally stop here, start the camera rolling from this point, and then I would literally just probably angle it off this way and then slowly move from right to left, and then cut the camera there. To get my second shot, I would just kind of zoom in a little bit, turn up the exposure, because this is not a constant aperture lens, and I would get a nice close-up of what these leaves look like. By starting the camera rolling from here, and then maybe tracking over to the right, or you can also do something like a wide low angle push-in, something like this. So you guys notice that Jesus Christ. So you guys notice my camera movement is a lot more purposefully driven than just me kind of shooting whatever, whenever. Another tip that I will give you guys is to essentially break up what your footage looks like, especially like on a YouTube video like this. So you guys noticed we were in the grocery store earlier, and then I kind of cut away to like a cinematic. That wasn't for me just to kind of show off to you guys like I'm doing something cinematic. It was really just to break up that 24p, switch it over to 60, and just give the viewer a better viewing experience. Some of the things I like about shooting on a Canon is, of course, the wonderful color science, the dual pixel autofocus, and as well, you have a shitload of lenses you can choose from. Another thing I do like about shooting on DSLRs is the fact that you don't get any shutter roll. Some things I don't like about Canon are the fact that in order to get or step into something 4K, you pretty much have to spend at least $2,000. I don't like that. I do not like the dynamic range or lack of dynamic range, and especially in this 77D. I do think the newer lineup of Canon cameras have a better dynamic range, but this particular 77D, which is essentially a T7i, the dynamic range isn't too great. And so, look, man, if you guys are looking for like a decent vlogging camera, I shot like a couple music videos on this camera actually. This camera actually shoots pretty well just for like a simple type of music video. Another cool thing about this camera is it's got dual pixel autofocus. It also has face tracking and everything like that too. So I mean, this is an older camera, but like I said, you should be able to pick up a used one for like, I don't know, $300-400. 10 to 18 EFS lens. That's what y'all see me on right now. This is considered a kit lens. So just to let y'all know, you don't need like an expensive L-glass lens to shoot decent looking video. As long as you got your color right, as long as you got your exposure looking somewhat correct as you're shooting it, you can always correct it a little bit in post. Your overall project's gonna look pretty decent in the end. I believe this lens goes for like $200. Don't quote me, I'll check it out and post it up over here when I get back. But another lens I do recommend getting as well is the Tokina 11-16 because it's a 2.8 constant aperture. This one is actually, since it's a kit lens, it goes, I believe, from 3.5 to 5.6. So as you zoom in, the aperture actually stops down, and so your image gets darker. This lens ends up coming out pretty good because it's got the stabilization on it as in the lens, and then it's got also, you know, autofocus. It's got the STM motors in it from Canon, which is basically the newer style of motors within the autofocus portions of the lens, so you don't like hear the lens trying to focus and everything like that. So this lens is pretty good, man, but like I said, it's a kit lens. Check out the 11-16 Tokina if you're looking for a lens that has more of a constant aperture throughout the entire focal range. Okay guys, that is all for this video, man. I appreciate you guys checking it out. Like I said, I just want to tune in just a little bit because this is what I do pretty much every other day, at least maybe even every day at some points in time during the week. As I come out and I take whatever camera, doesn't matter, it could be a cell phone, it could be this 77D, it could be my pocket, it could be another camera that I'm borrowing from someone else just to check out other cameras. But yeah, every day I'm going out, I'm shooting something, I'm editing something. If you guys want to see just kind of like my short edits, head over to shane.the.coach on Instagram. You guys can check out some of the stuff that I work on when I'm not working on music videos. Other than that, I'll check y'all in another video, guys. Peace.